This might be the best podcast we've ever done.
No, it is.
This
Not
is,
even a joke anymore. It is.
This is going to be the best podcast we've ever done.
During COVID, we went 110 days without a single sale.
Wow.
3 months, we never sold one product. I think the book that I recommend the most of any that changed my life the most was definitely, it's truly remarkable. It's truly life-changing. Here's what you need to know about lean.
Hello, everybody. Brad Cairns, Lynn Thompson, coming at you with another episode of On the Shop Floor. And this might be the best podcast we've ever done.
No, it is.
Not
even a joke anymore. It is.
This is going to be the best podcast we've ever done. We have a guest that's, oh my God, a reputation precedes him everywhere he goes for sure. So today we have Chuck Cicerelli with us.
Ciccarelli. Got to get it right. Ciccarelli.
Chuck
Do we want? I don't know.
Ciccarelli. Imagine I got
Do
that
we want
wrong.
to start from the top and re-roll?
Okay.
We can get this roll, man.
I'm okay.
Just roll, baby, roll.
I'm okay with being wrong.
Let's just roll.
We're gonna keep it
Ciccarelli.
going. Chuck Ciccarelli. I've been saying it wrong since I met you. And so yeah, today we just did the most incredible plant tour of In the Ditch, and there's no words for that. So if you're hearing this podcast and you haven't seen that video yet, or one of the other 9,892 plant tours that are on YouTube of In the Ditch, you need to check that out. And today, I think we're just going to talk about what are those good old-fashioned principles that have got you to where you are. And if you wouldn't mind to like wind the clock back just a little bit, where did you get started? How was it? And we'll go from there. So without further ado, Chuck Ciccarelli.
Well, I think the thing to do is to try to keep it engaging for the people that are watching, right? And the goal is, as I mentioned, I'm a big Zig Ziglar fan, and it's to help enough people get what they want, and you'll get what you want, right? What my goal is to just really help people, and I feel like I owe it when I stumbled across this Toyota production system and Toyota, and we actually reached out to them and they did get us some help. And you keep wondering, like, why are they helping people and not asking for anything? Like, your guard is always up, right? Like right now, when they, I believe it's still going, they opened up all of their patents to renewable energy, or thousands of them, and said, here, free, use them. There's a little bit of protocol with it, but they don't want nothing. And you're like, what do you mean they don't want nothing? Why do I want to take time out of my day or yours to do this podcast, right? You're not paying me.
It's one of our questions was like, why do we have
what is this
taking
burning
time out?
desire to do it? You know, I think Wayne Newton used to say in Vegas when he closed his show, thanks for spending time with me, because when you take a person's money, they can make more. But when you take their time, they can never get that back. So the time that we've spent together today, we will never get that back, right? So I really try to be very careful with my time, and I treat time as a very precious commodity, and I'm really guarded on who I spend it with, right? Because the time on earth just seems to be reducing and reducing and reducing. So I don't know. I feel like it's weird. Like, I feel like I owe something to Toyota. Like somebody somewhere is looking back saying, so years ago, I grew up in a ranching community. As you see, I was actually headed to our ranch. I kind of forgot where I was this morning. And I learned a lot of, crap, I forgot where I was going with that, because I was reflecting back on some of the mentoring that I had gotten from that. But, you know, the goal is just to give back and help people. And we talked a little bit when I got on this lean journey, and we started pursuing things from a let's get better point rather than a let's make as much money as we can point. it's almost like going to church and putting money in the offering plate, right? Sometimes it's very hard to do, but it always comes back.
Right.
Zig Ziglar, he said, help as many people as you get, or help as many people get what they want and you'll get what you want. And so by just giving back, we just seem to get things back. And it isn't just monetary. Sometimes it's just friendships. We talked about Alex and Ramirez and Bob from Steelcase and all of his crew, and just Ryan and the gang from Seeing Matters, Paul Akers, I consider a friend. Getting to know you we've been texting for a long time. So, sorry, I just feel like I have something to offer other people in business, because, man, there were times that I was on my knees praying because I didn't know how to keep the doors open the next day. There were times when employees seemed to rule the roost, and I got where I didn't even want to look at them, and I would go the other way to avoid people in my own company. And, I have to challenge people now to kick the front door down and take your company back. And I was struggling deeply. So when I found this Toyota philosophy, and they started, it just astounds me. So here's a company. What are they now, about 70 years into this thing, 75, somewhere in there? And they're saying, hey, we want to share everything we've learned with you, and we don't want nothing for it, but we want you to be better than us.
Right.
And I'm like, so I feel this, I know where I was going with the growing up on a ranching community is, years ago, a guy loaned me some money and really helped me out. His name was Asa Black. I said, what do you want out of this? And he goes, someday it'll be your turn. I didn't understand it at the time. I was about 19 years old back then. And several times now, I've been able to make Asa happy because I'm like, I did, it was my turn.
Right.
Do you understand?
100%.
And sometimes, I just know what it's like to I was trying to explain the other day, I was actually talking to a good friend, and I said, you'll never know what it's like to go home at night or to go into your office, your business, and sit there and the phone never rings. During COVID, we went to 110 days without a single sale.
Wow.
3 months, we never sold one product. And you try everything. You know what I mean? We put signs on the road. We put balloons out. We run specials. And we just couldn't sell. Well, that was our tow truck line. And because what happened during COVID, remember there was a period where there was no driving, no nothing.
Right.
And tow truck operators, they just said, we're not spending a penny. And they shouldn't have, right? Everybody tucked in, and it was over. Although several of our customers, at about 110 days in, I started calling saying, guys, I need some help. And they started placing orders. And we all helped each other get through it. But just your family, nobody knows what that's like to come in there and look at the phone and it doesn't ring. And no matter what you do, you can't get the phone to ring and you can't get a sale. And I've been on the other side of it when, as I told you, when we had 1,500 customer orders. And, there was months that, I think I went 6 months straight where I never took a day off. I never went on the water with my boats. We never went snowmobiling, motorcycle, camping, because I didn't want one person to see me goofing off and say, yeah, he's out goofing off instead of getting my orders shipped.
That's so huge. In terms of, that's not even leadership. That's like just managing the perception, because that's not how you felt.
Well, it's not a joke. You come to work every day, you better be taking care of your customers or somebody else is going to. We have sales bells. I don't know if you guys heard them in the shop, but whenever somebody would buy something, we play a sound over the intercom to let everybody know, because we're in a very rural community, and to be able to get sales and put people back to work is something I'm very proud of, right? And very thankful for that moment. So, we try to celebrate all of those, and we got to take care of our customers. Like when we got 1,500 orders behind, we're billed to order it in the ditch. 4-day lead time. You place the order, we ship. Most small orders ship same day or next day. So you got to get fast.
But that's with no inventory.
Right.
Yeah.
Then what happened is that's all going great. And there's that TV commercial a long time ago where the guys are selling cars and they're like something, and then all of a sudden the meter's going ding, 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 ding. They're like, oh, we got to get busy. Then all of a sudden your orders are just coming in faster than you can handle it. And we became a company we didn't want to be. We couldn't answer the phone on time. We suspended tours, which really bothered me. We were working people into the ground. I mean, we were asking people to work 6-7 days. We asked people to work on Christmas Day. We're doing anything we can to get the orders out. I went so far, I actually went into our data center and unplugged our telephone system, because I didn't want my sales personnel to lie and say, hey, Chuck unplugged the phone. I didn't tell anybody.
Oh, you didn't tell anyone?
No, I said, I'm on it. Phones are out. Because we couldn't we had to stop the orders.
Wow.
So but now let's just go back to what it's like to run a business. It's the constant struggle, right? If you have too much work, you're overwhelming your staff. You're usually under-delivering to your customers. If you don't have enough work, you got to send people home early. They worry about the life cycle of their job, right? So you're always trying to find that balance of what's the perfect deal. And that's another time when we reached out to Toyota and tell me about this word Hijunka.
I was going to say, yeah.
And I'm going to tell you right now, we spent almost 2 years on it, and we even got the Likert Institute involved. And Hijunka is something else. Like, you can read the 1 or 2 sentences of, the art of leveling out the workload, but it's a really complex. I don't know anybody that I've really met that could explain to me exactly what a Hijunka card is and the exact function of it. So we just started dabbling into that to try to level things out. But the end result is that everything that drove us was that we have to take care of our number one asset, which is people. Whether that's your customer or your employees. And everybody says, and I agree with it, your number one asset in a company is the people that work for you or work with you. Say it however you want. You cannot grow if you can't recruit talent and retain talent. It's impossible. Maybe if you're a hedge fund manager,
Right. Yeah.
right, or you're running a counterfeiting machine. But other than that, you need people. But how many companies really prove it? So when we were going through both ends of this spectrum, we knew we had to take care of the people that work for us, right? So if I'm working you 6-7 days a week, that's not a long-term vision that anybody wants. So we had to fix that. When we didn't have enough work to gainfully employ you, we had to fix that, right? But the driver behind all those decisions was Toyota saying, respect for people, continuous improvement. Don't trade the short-term profits for the long-term goal. And you start putting all of those basic things together, and then it just starts to work for you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, a lot. I would like to just go rewind just a second and go back to you're giving up time because you feel obligated in terms of like, well, I got it all. Toyota, like I feel like you want to give back. You like giving back.
I feel like it's what they were expecting, right?
Right.
Without saying it.
So I've got two and one of the stories you may not want me to tell, but the first one was when I texted you the first time. I can't even imagine being you and how many messages you must get a day, and you're like, okay, Brad, yeah, hi Chuck, you're my hero. I'm hanging off of every word. Can you help me? And it's like, how many of those a day do you get? And then your response to me was, Brad, I need you to read a book. I don't even know if you remember this part. And you said, I need you to go read Message to Garcia. And I mean, it's like, for me, if I'm at the gym and Arnold Schwarzenegger comes over and says, you got to do your curls like this, I'm not asking any questions. I'm just going to do what he says. So I didn't ask any questions. I just went, I read the book that night, and I texted you back the next day, and I was like, okay, I read the book, I got it. And then that's when you started giving me more time, like you would answer my questions.
Because I don't want to give it away, but that was always my first litmus test. Are you a guy that can deliver a message to Garcia?
Right.
And I think you understand the message.
100%. As soon as I read the book, I was
And once you did that, I'm like, okay, here's a guy that I'm going to invest in because he's going to put in the time. And I hope anybody watching this reads a message to Garcia.
yes. And the other one, and we can even edit this part out.
No,
if you don't want
I'm there.
people to know about it.
It's fine.
But because I was hanging out with Alex Ramirez last week in Texas, and he's like, I called Chuck and I wanted to come see In the Ditch and see what they were going, because Alex is crazy like us, and he's like, Chuck asked me, which tour do you want? Do you want like the high level tour or do you want the in-depth tour? And he goes, if you want the in-depth tour, it's going to be $5,000. And Alex said, well, I don't, my company's not paying for this. I have to pay for it out of my own pocket, but if I'm coming there, I want the whole deal. And then when he got here, he's like, hey, Chuck, I didn't pay you yet. Who do I pay? And you looked at him and you said, you didn't have to pay. I was just testing you. I mean.
Well, it's like this. I don't lean consult. And I'll tell you exactly why. Because you won't do what needs to be done. You won't. If you read about Ono, I got one of his old archived videos, and they tell the story. He was at a dinner, and please understand that I'm telling you the way that I perceived this all happening, okay? He's at a big dinner, they're all wearing suit and ties, and they're eating, and this company's sitting on this side of the table, and they're like, well, we would do anything to get you to help us. Like, whatever you want, whatever. And he goes, let's go. And they're like, it's 10 o'clock. We're all in. Do you want my help or not? So they go to the factory. And he says, let's move this machine and that machine. They go, no, we can't do that. You got to get a crane. You got to get them. And they put up all the, he need to find, you know what? Take me home. And that's just a hard cal. I'm not saying that I'm really good at this or anything. I'm just telling you, I don't want to mentor anybody or consult anybody because they won't do what needs to be done.
Right.
Shit, half of them wouldn't read the guts. People come do lean tours and they go, my God, you guys are doing great. You know, you're crushing it. And they go, what do we do? And I go, tape out your trash cans. And then they come back 6 months later for a tour and I go, did you get them trash cans taped out? Well, no. You're wasting my time.
Yeah, I got a quick question for you. We quite often get people that are calling us for help, and we're not here to sell lean to anybody because we understand we're not into push systems, we're into pull systems. But I just heard someone the other day say, well, we're thinking about it, we might dip our toe in. What do you say to people that have that and that are thinking and that are in that mindset right now about lean manufacturing?
Dipping their toe. That's an interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, sometimes I think lean is a little bit like a religion. Those of us that have seen the changing effects, the earth-shattering, the life-changing effects, it's almost like a religion, right?
Transformation.
Yeah, we want you to come
Transformation, yeah.
come see the promised land. I'm a huge Alan Mulally fan, huge. And he talks about coming out of the swamp and into the light. I think most people that want to dip their toe in just aren't desperate enough yet. It seems like most big lean transformation comes when they're at the bottom and they don't know where else to go. So I really don't know how to comment on that. I think it's really challenging for business owners to really define what it is they're trying to do. Are you trying to make money? I had a young man ask me to mentor him the other day, and he says, "Man, I'm 16 years old, and I don't want to work on the family farm. I want this and I want that." And I said, "Great, go sell drugs." "What do you mean?" I said, "You're 16, you want money right now? That's the best route I know of. Go be a drug dealer. Let me know how that works out for you." Because I only know how to play the long game.
Right.
And I only know how to do, or I always say, go with what you know. And I know I don't want to be a drug dealer. And I know, I don't want to play the stock market. And I know, so I stick with what I know. And I know enough to know that I'm going to look at people that are wildly successful by my definition. And money isn't always in that. And I'm going to try to do what they do. And then all of a sudden, here's Toyota saying, let me tell you something about what I learned about these guys. There was a period in the 90s that Toyota made more profit for 10 years straight than Ford, GM, Chrysler, and Volkswagen combined. Think about that. Think about what it must have been like to sit in them offices in the 50s and have them guys say, "We're going to catch Detroit in," what was it, 4 years or 7 years? Them boys clanked when they walked. Right. I mean, and everybody in the room saying, "Hi, let's go do that." It's just yeah. And so people that want to dip their toe in, man, you're just not ready for the promised land, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and that's I just want you to have a different take on it. We say if you're not willing to burn the ships, you're done. If you want to take the island, you got to burn the boats. It takes that level of attitude and commitment and engagement.
No, I agree. Yeah, people come to me all the time with an invention. "What do you think?" "Great. You ready to mortgage your house to launch it?" "No." "Then." Yeah. See, for me, it was never a doubt. In fact, we mortgaged our house a bunch of times to keep feeding the ship, but I don't know. I guess like I was telling you guys, I had some revelation moments, and maybe things I could share with business owners. So I remember a moment where I was just so frustrated that I couldn't seem to find people that were as perfect as me. And by that, what I mean is people that could see things the way I see it, and people could see, well, that trash can needs dumped, and people that could say, oh, this customer's coming into the parking lot, I better tuck my shirt in and have a notepad and ready, and all those things. And I got pretty down and out because I already had a business that was probably at 20, 25 employees. I'm working all the time, and I didn't see a path forward. So I went back to the Toyota book, and I started reading it again.
Which Toyota book got you going?
Gosh, I've read so many. I think this one might have been just the Toyota Way.
Same.
I think the book that I recommend the most of any that changed my life the most was definitely The Goal by Eli Goldratt. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But in there it said, the first assumption when a mistake is made is not that the employee made it, but there's a flaw in the system that allowed the mistake to occur. And I was out in this parking lot. It was like a revelation. It was like the clouds parted. And it was like, you can do this. I realized right then I needed robust processes, not robust people. And that's when we said, so I started using a philosophy of, why can't I say it right now? Not an orb. Why can't I think of it right now? A person that's there that's not really there.
Oracle?
Genie.
Not a genie, but I'm completely drawing a blank right now on how to say that thing.
Anybody? A studio audience? A person that's there that's not really
Avatar. There we go.
Okay.
So, excuse me. So I started thinking of avatars. Okay. So I would ask myself, if an avatar was doing the reception job, what would I expect out of that person? So we wrote that down. And then we said, what would we expect out of somebody running one of our lasers? Show up on time, dress appropriately, no hobo costumes allowed. All of these things that we would expect of that avatar to do. So then we would just insert a human into that avatar role. So if there were shortcomings there, we would never look at the human, we'd always look at the avatar and say, is this behavior acceptable of this avatar? And then we would slide the human back in. Am I making sense? So we never blamed the person. In fact, that was a big challenge, was to develop a blame-free workplace, because I always wanted their head on a stick, right? So when a mistake would occur, we'd say, okay, what in the process that allowed the mistake to
Blame the
occur?
process, not the people.
Right. And use an avatar.
I like the way you use the avatar, though. That's new for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like
Well, so here's an example, Lynn. Lynn lives 100 miles away. She's chronically late. She's got a kid she's got to get off to school all the time. Okay. Geez, I feel for you. Single mom, and you're going through all of this, and my heart goes out to you. And maybe we can work around that. Okay, that's one management thought process. Now, the other management thought process says, we got 120 employees working here. We need an avatar doing a reception job. Lynn, can the avatar be late? Yes or no?
No.
Do they need to work 5 days a week?
Yes.
Do they need to schedule time off?
Yes.
Yep. So I got to have the same expectations on you that I need for this role, this avatar role.
Yeah, I
That's
just like the way
a good way to
you're
look.
using avatar, because we always say we have the process, we have clearly defined roles and expectations, but the avatar just takes it to another level, and it makes
You're turning
it
a
easier to identify what
Person
they
into a
do.
process almost, without
Right.
making the person. Yeah. Wow.
I can't let you have unacceptable behavior that I won't expect out of the avatar. If
Right.
there was no name, no personality.
Yeah.
Gosh, could you imagine running a business if you could just say, okay, instead of working 8 to 5, we're all going to work 7 to 4. Like, you can't make those decisions because there's emotions. Well, Susie's got a kid in school, and Bob's got this, and Fred's got this.
Can't even get people to have a morning meeting at the same time every day because they're so worried about everybody starting at a different time, and we're trying to please everybody and make it work for everybody, when in reality it should be the other way around.
So if we had a company filled with avatars, should we have this meeting at the exact same time every morning?
Yes, sir.
So make it so.
Yeah. Yeah, I just love it.
Make it
just,
so.
It's just a much easier way, I think, to bring people together on this.
Yeah.
That whole so that avatar thing just came to you, or to someone?
Yeah, so we've adopted a lot of philosophies. One, we believe that a man from Mars should be able to parachute in and do your job,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So all of these little things just keep coming together. But it's the easiest way for me to not let the personal side control the destiny of the company. As we talked earlier today, if we ran an Applebee's restaurant and you were hired to manage it, you're going to follow the Applebee's way to the T. You are not going to come in and change the jingle. You're not going to come in and change the uniform. We meet at 8 o'clock. You're not going to say, well, I want to meet at 8:15. It's not how we're going to run our program. So when you come to work for our company, you're going to fulfill our vision. Like I always tell everybody, you came to that door and knocked on it and said, I would like a job. And why our culture is so important is I can say, okay, Lynn, you want inside the house. Here's our culture. These are our house rules. And we talked a little bit about your house rules, right? What I can and can't do if I was to go in your home. And you're just not going to come into our house and disrupt our house. We eat breakfast at 7 o'clock at our house. You'll be at the table. We don't eat with our hats on. Hats coming off. We put our dishes in the dishwasher. Like, it's the same when you come to work. We're not negotiating on these things. We're not.
You mentioned something earlier on today about the line. Can you explain that because this is something we face in all of the companies, and everywhere we go we get this question about, well, how do we make that, is there any wiggle room here for people, and when it comes to attitudes and behavior, and I really liked what you described to us.
The line on the floor?
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, let me ask, so my mentor years ago, who was actually, he asked me something once. He says, Chuck, do you know the difference between knowing and believing? And I said, I think I do. And he goes, let me tell you my take on it. He says, I believe with all my heart that my children are mine, but my wife, she knows. At some point, he says, when you're ready to go from believing what I'm telling you will work to knowing it'll work, we can take this to the next level. And as I mentioned, and Kristen was there, who you met, and Clay on the tour, we were around 15 to 25 employees, barely hanging on, very frustrated with everything, and kept studying this lean and kept thinking about it, and we believed it would work, and we did these models where we would walk employees through the shop in batches, and we would time them at each machine, and we'd ring the bell, and then we would do one-piece flow, and every time one-piece flow won. Every time. We brought in Boise State University, their MEP program. We built the popsicle stick airplanes, and then we built the popsicle corrals, and it worked. And then we built airplanes, we watched YouTube videos, and we did it all as a company, and this shit works. And I'm like, I know it's gonna work. And as I told you, I remember reading that line in one of the books that said, the way I perceived it to say it is, it said, if you're not doing one-piece part flow, you're just a wannabe. And I'm like, I'm doing one-piece part flow. I know it's the right decision for our company. So I drew a line on the shop floor in chalk, and I put everybody on one side, and I said, I'm doing one-piece part flow, non-negotiable from this day forward. So if you want to do it with me and take the journey, cross the line. If you don't, stay there. I'll give you a month's severance pay or whatever I can afford, and you can leave. It's no problem. And they all crossed the line, and we started tearing down racks. We started offing inventory on eBay, and I actually had to call my banker and say, come in and look, because like Paul Akers, I think in one of his videos mentioned, they would loan him money because everything was so organized and labeled and spotless. The bank's like, here. And they would do that with me, whatever you want. I couldn't even pay them back, and they're giving me money because they think I'm a manager. And the banking world is so screwed up because the more inventory you have, the more they'll loan you on your operating line, right? I could borrow up to 80 or 60% of inventory and 80% of accounts receivable. So the more that people owe you money and the more inventory you got, the more I could borrow.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah, so then we discovered in QuickBooks how to build what WIP is and how to build sub-assemblies. So now I can take this steel and this, and we could put it together and throw some labor on it and put it into QuickBooks. And instead of $50 worth of raw goods, we now have a finished product worth $500, and I can borrow 60% of that. Woohoo! Let's keep going. And they really reward bad behavior. When we decided to go lean, and more than lean, one-piece part flow. When we decided to go one-piece part flow and get rid of all of that, I actually had my banker come look because I didn't want her to walk in and see an empty warehouse and think we were going broke. It was a pretty big hit to our financials year one because your balance sheet kind of flips.
Yeah, as soon as you get rid of all your inventory.
Get rid of all your assets
Yep.
and inventory. But the cash starts building. But they're not that interested in cash. Banks aren't.
So when you so you draw the line on the shop floor, who's with me, who's not, they all cross the line. What was the first thing you implemented? Like, where did you start?
Right, we said we're going to tear down all of the racks and shipping.
So you went for inventory first.
Attacked inventory, and that's when we started defining inventory as a drug that we will never get hooked on.
I love that saying.
And they'll probably watch this video. There's a very large company in the billions of dollars that called me and that had overbought during the COVID era, wanted to know what our thoughts was and how we managed it. And I said, well, inventory is a drug we didn't get hooked on, so we didn't overbuy. No matter what, we just stayed disciplined to that. And they're like, well, you don't understand. We're a big company and this and that. And I go, yeah, well, what happened now? And they go, well, we have too much inventory. Because you got hooked on the drug. You thought if you had enough of it, it fixes
okay.
your problems.
That's right.
And it doesn't.
It hides your problems, and it's insulation. You're blissfully unaware of your problems, but it's not fixing it.
Exactly.
It's tying up cash. It's
When you go to one-piece part flow, you have to go to one-piece problem solving because you can't hide it.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, it forces you to expose your problems and deal with them.
You have to. And we talked a little bit about tariffs today, that my fear is, one, I understand, right? We're going to raise tariffs in foreign countries and we're going to make it equal. Great, now I can compete. But raising tariffs alone, I'm worried that the U.S. manufacturers still aren't going to work on being efficient. We ship to South Korea every month, 50 to 75,000 a month into South Korea every month. We ship to the United Kingdom, Germany, Mexico, Brazil, all over the country, Italy, and we're shipping product out. And I share, and you'll see it in a little bit, my manhole cover. As I told you, there was that moment when I was looking down and I'm standing on a manhole cover in our in our parking lot, and it says "Made in India." And I'm thinking, how can they build? What's a manhole cover weigh? 200 pounds? 250 pounds?
Yeah, heavy.
How can somebody build a 250-pound item, 8,000 miles away, ship it? How many levels of distribution? How many times was it moved from the time it got to the ship till it went into the truck, then it went to a warehouse, then it went to a local yard, then it got shipped to Idaho, then it got delivered in the ditch, and then we put it in there? How can they do that? It's asinine. It's because I believe U.S. manufacturers just gave up. I don't know if they gave up. It's just easier to just say, well, rather than fight it, we'll just go. Because lean's hard work. I mean, this is brutally hard work.
You said that about 20 times on the plant tour, and you could have said it another 20, because that is the message.
So
that
the
people
easiest thing to
need
do is
hear.
let's just take it overseas. Right, if you're running a large corporate, I don't have time to go develop avatar training and lean training and tape trash cans. And you got to remember which business you're in. So always remember this. It's what I learned. I own Ford stock. I'm a big fan of Jim Farley. He's Toyota trained, in case you didn't know. Do you think I care whether or not Ford employees are happy all day, every day? Mm-hmm. No. What do I want? Stock to go up. That's not to say that, you know what I mean. Yeah. I want them to be a good, well-run company, but I'm not worried about the day-to-day. I just want to see the stock prices grow up. So if you're a leader in that company, you're answering to the shareholders. And so maybe going overseas makes more sense. Mm-hmm. Whew, I got hot all of a sudden on that one. Look, I believe we can compete. I believe with all my heart, with or with, well, tariffs is a whole nother thing. On a level playing field, we can kick ass as U.S. manufacturers.
You're living proof. I just walked through the plant.
Yeah.
I mean, if people did what you did, they could compete.
Well,
No,
and
well, it's- I
you
wanna
should
be-
watch the video, the tour video, because I've seen a lot of very lean companies, and I found it shocking when we walked through your factory today. You have to watch the video.
But I want to be very clear, it wasn't me. It's the people that we developed that took the torch and ran with it. Like, you guys notice my signature line on my emails and the sign over my office. I'm the director of excitement with platinum status, right? I never once felt my role or my title was more important than anybody else's. Because if Fred in shipping doesn't do his job, Susie in marketing doesn't do her job, we're all going to fail. My area of responsibility, we're really big on areas of responsibility. My area of responsibility might be a little bit larger than yours. But if shipping ships it to the wrong address, or final assembly doesn't build it properly, you know, we all talked about the defects. We have the video of the iceberg floating on top, and you don't see all of that in the bottom. You know what I mean? So it takes everybody doing their job. Everybody's got to be rowing the boat. And you can only do that if you have a shared vision. Like, I talk to companies and I talk to employees, and I'm like, hey, what's the vision for the company in the next 3 years? I don't know. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? I don't know, never given much thought. Like, if you work for me and you say that, I'm mortified, because I got to show you where you can be in 5 years. You need to know what my vision is for the next 5 years. Personally, right now, I'm kind of struggling with that because I just sold majority interest in the company. I'm kind of retired, but you know, we have a golf course, we got a resort, we got a ranch, we got an RV dealership, we got a construction company, got a hot rod shop.
You're not going to get bored.
No, but
So
what
much
is
for
the
retired.
vision? What's the next new vision, right?
Right.
And it's unfair to the people around us that I haven't been able to articulate that. I'm still on walkabout.
Right.
I just don't have the big knife.
That's not a knife.
I have another question for you about leadership, because when we were walking through your, you know, how you onboard people and everything that you had up in that room about leadership and growing leaders and behaviors and you know, how you want people to what behaviors you want them to embrace and hold each other accountable to. Where did this level of leadership come from? You're very much into making sure that everyone's supported as they're growing through the company. I love your red team or SWAT team that's going to jump in and not fix the problem for someone, but coach them through fixing the problem. So you're doing so much of that development. Where did this leadership come from in you? Have you always been this way, or was there a mentor you had, or some wild books that you read that changed, that lit up something in you?
You know, I'm not sure. You know, I heard one time, when you're on your growth to becoming a leader, it's about you. And then when you feel you've become a leader, it's all about them. And I've just had this innate belief that if you can develop people, you can really get the most out of them. So I don't know. I don't understand. Like, it's hard for me to comprehend things. Like, I go to construction sites, as you know, we're building several projects, and I work with wonderful companies, but many times I'll see their workers come out and work, and for a week straight, you don't see any leaders. And you're like, who's mentoring these guys and girls? Like, who's challenging them to be bigger, better? Like we talked earlier today, that I think it's such a huge travesty in America, anywhere in the world really, if you're not setting goals for the people that work for you. If you're not giving them a reason beyond collecting a paycheck to come. And I think that's the role of a leader, is we got to keep putting challenges. So I've always, like, I'm never going to wake up in the morning and get on one knee and look at one of my sons and say, just be average today. I'm not. Yeah. If my son, my middle son, he went to play college football. Do you think I wanted to hand him off to the coach that's going to challenge him and push him? Or did you want me to hand him off to the coach that's like, yeah, we win a few, lose a few? I wanted him to go with a winning program and get challenged. And so I'm going to expect the same out of you. Like, it's our God-given responsibility to keep putting big challenges in front of people.
Well, you're putting challenges in front of people, but you're supporting people in a way that I haven't seen in a lot of other organizations. So you're really surrounding people with a really strong multi-level support system, and you're coaching them all the way in from day one.
Right. That goes back to Hoshin Conry, which is really your 10-year vision. One of the things that I wrote that I don't want our company to lose sight of is that we need to give everybody the opportunity to succeed. And that means if we promote somebody and feel they're ready and we put them into a leadership role and they're struggling and they raise their hand, we got to be able to give them the help and the support they need. So I often view myself as a guy that's walking along the edge of a swimming pool. And you're walking along and everybody's out there treading water. And every once in a while you see somebody go, hey, 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 pull me up, I want to go with you. Then we reach down and grab them and pull them up, and we spend a lot of time with this person developing them, those that read A Message to Garcia. Did that answer your question, or did I just mumble jumble in a big circle?
I expected I thought maybe it was a specific, I think you've been like this for a very long time.
We're just wondering, like, how did you
what was
become
your inspiration?
you? Were you always this, like you're, I hesitate to use the word perfect, I don't want you to your head.
No.
But like, you're an amazing leader. Were you
no,
always
I don't
an
know
amazing
that
leader?
I'm an amazing, I would say I'm a piss poor leader. And I think many people watching this, if they work for me, they would say, that guy was hard on us. I mean, there were many times in my life I was hard on people, brutally hard on them. I couldn't understand if I was here at 9 o'clock, why you weren't here with me.
Right.
And if you weren't, you didn't care about this company. I yelled at people, I've screamed at people. I've been the worst.
So where did that transition happen? Because that's not you now.
No, it's a transformational journey. I think everybody that wants to be a better leader, everybody feels they could have done so much better and they want to be better. And like some of the people I've met on these lean tours, I actually went into business as one of the guys, and we go out to lunch and we're just talking about wanting to be better humans. And he goes, me too. And he goes, how about you and I? Let's get on this thing together. You know what I mean? We started eating lunches together. We started talking and challenging each other. And we're just, you get caught up in it. Trying to be a better leader and trying to, so there's I think a great book written by Jack Welch. Jack Welch ran General Electric. Time magazine once named him the manager of the century, I think it was, or manager of the decade. I think at a high point he had 400,000 employees. He would write these books and give these lectures online, and so we started watching, and he has a book called Winning. And in Winning, he talks about differentiation. And he said in any organization, he believes you have your top 70 or your middle 70. Then you have your top 10% and your bottom 20. And he said your top 10 are your champions. They're the people that are going to charge through a door. You met some of those people today, right? So with 100 employees, you got 10 champions. Then you got your middle 70. And you got the bottom 70 and the middle and the upper 70. And these are the people that are doing their job all day, every day. And some of them want to climb out of the swimming pool, and it's your job to pull them up. Some of them end up going down. And then you got your bottom 20, and you can't save them. And you just got to get rid of them. So I was always trying to, some of the mistakes I believe I made as a young leader. Number one is I tried to save everybody. And everybody watching this in business can say amen to that. We spent way too much on time for people that don't want to save themselves. As we talked about in our leadership, that's when the number one thing to be a leader at our company was you got to want to invest in yourself. And then I started focusing on the 70%, and then I realized with 100 employees, if I spent 10 minutes a day with each one, that's 1,000 minutes. Like, I couldn't even get through my day.
Right.
So then I had to say, okay, I'm going to start putting out challenges. Like I would say, we're going to have a lean seminar tonight and pizza at 8 o'clock. And I'd just write it on a bulletin board. And I'd be there at 8 o'clock, and I'd see who showed up. Then we started doing leadership every Thursday at 7:30 in the morning. Don't pay you to be there. You don't have to go there. I'm going to be there. Other people, we're going to talk about leadership. And then pretty soon we started getting 50, 60, 70 people in the morning showed up. This went on for 15 years.
Wow.
Unbelievable. And then you start to go, okay, we got something here. We got some people that can really take this company to the next level. And we took the journey together. And like I told them all, I'm making half of this stuff up as we go. Because like me, I can give you pretty good advice on how to grow a company to, say, 75 million a year in sales. I don't know how to go to 100 million. Haven't been there yet. Does that make sense?
Totally.
So
it's a different game at every level.
if we're going to go to that level, that's why I ended up selling to another company, because they have the skill set to take it to the next level. Does that make sense?
It does.
More than the money, I felt like they could really re-challenge the people that work there.
Right. So, question. Was there somebody who was kind of like your right-hand man or woman during this process? Like, was there that?
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
one person?
So we had a core group, and so we have what we call group leaders. And so it took a while, but through studying Toyota, we believe, like they taught us, that, let me explain. I want to put this in a matter that could help somebody, okay? I'm going to use Kristen's name. She was on the tour. I'm sure she's good with this. I remember a time when she was running shipping. This was years ago. And I said, Kristen, I need you to come run the laser department. You need to pick somebody to run shipping. And she, over the course of the week, was pretty distraught. And I finally said, what's going on? She goes, I don't have a single person that I feel that I can promote. That's pretty bad. And okay. So then I went back to the book and we started reading more, and they said, okay, Toyota says.
Which book?
One of the Toyota books.
Okay. Sorry, keep going.
We're going to go with the Toyota way.
Yeah.
But read the goal. If you don't want to have a team leader lead any more than 4 to 6 people, depending on how far apart they are. So, and I'll be glad to share it with you guys, and we could put a clip of it up. So we defined member roles. So we locked ourselves in a room for a couple weeks, and we said, Avatar, what do we want out of a team member? We wrote down, we need these things done out of a team member. What do we need out of a team leader? We need these things done. What do we need out of a department leader? And what do we need out of a group leader? So we wrote all them. And we look back, and Kristen goes, well, shit, I got a lot of team leaders. She was thinking she needed her direct replacement, which is this group leader. And she says, I got 4 or 5 people ready to go right now as a team leader. And they can lead 4 or 5 people, each one of them. So she went down and promoted 2 or 3 of them to team leaders. And she goes, well, shit, we can do this. And then we pulled her out. And then she started working with the team leaders, and then she got one of the team leaders moved into a department lead. Does that make sense? Like, think of it as racing. Chuck, we need you to go win the Indy 500 this year. Blah, 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 blah. I can't do that. Versus, Chuck, can you get a go-kart and enter in the 5-horsepower Briggs & Stratton class this weekend and start working your way up through the ranks and see what you can do to learn in that field and then get back to me? Yeah, I can do that. In fact, I'm looking forward to that.
Right. Yeah, it's not scary at that point.
It's not
You
scary.
haven't scared the pants off of someone to go, by the way, you're in charge now. Like, God, I've done that to so many people. Sorry, Kyla. Sorry, Shayna. Even Shem. Oh my God, all three of them. It's in our studio audience. We're live in front of the studio audience. Yay! Because when Shem started, I'm like, I want you to run the machine division. And he's like, oh yeah, okay. You know, what's that mean? How old are you?
25.
You're 25. So 25, and we were a few weeks in, and all of these decisions are coming down the pipe, and I'm like, Shem. And I don't know if you said it to someone else, but he's like, I can't believe you actually did that. So yeah, sorry. I'll give you more support next time. Carry on. Didn't mean to disturb you. Everything you're saying, I'm so guilty of so much of it. I'm like, God, I'm terrible.
No, we all are. And like, the world is in such need of leaders.
How do you view leadership and expectations and what's your philosophy on people understanding how their day's going? How do they know how they're doing? Like what's
Right.
important there?
So that was the absolute key takeaway when we had the Likert Institute here, is they said, if I'm standing on the shop floor, how do I know whether I'm winning or losing? And the analogy he used was, imagine we're at a basketball game and there's no scoreboard and everybody's going back and forth and there's all this action and shots are being taken, but you don't know who's winning. Like, how fun is that?
Yeah, zero.
And that's when we started trying to develop a way to let you know whether you were winning or losing. So we developed our own scheduling system. I'm an anti-ERP guy. I'm an anti-software guy in general, because very rarely does it do exactly what you want. So we actually hired people and we started writing our own program. And we developed our own scheduler so that anybody at the shop floor knows what the tack time is of the product and how many they need to make every hour. And they can easily look and go, man, I'm crushing it. I'm meeting my tack time, go home at lunch. Man, we knocked it out of the park today. Or we fell a little short. We better take a short lunch and get the red team involved and let's see if we can't fix this thing. So that was, and I think that's something that's plaguing every company. I'm going back to the construction workers, right? How do you know when you're doing a project at cost plus, which is kind of your world a little bit, right? If I'm a worker, how do I know whether I'm winning or losing? Mm-hmm. I'm building this house or this building, and we bill the customer for every hour we're here. So what's in it for me if I'm here 14 hours or 8 hours?
Yeah.
You would actually prefer me to be 14 because you pay me more.
Yeah, if you're billing
so
by the
actually,
hour.
same with the tow truck industry. This is so flawed. When I was in the towing industry, I charged per pound, right? You have an 80,000 pound semi on its side, we would charge 2 cents a pound to upright it, $1,600. Get in, get out. Industry said, that's highway robbery. You're not charging me $1,600 to upright my semi. Okay. What if I charge you $200 an hour to go out there with my big wrecker? Yeah, that's more in line with it, Chuck. Okay. Well, I was out there 8 hours. So
Weird.
$1,600. Oh, I'll pay that because you were out there.
That's right.
But I couldn't get $1,600 if I was out there and got really good and could do it in an hour.
Well, this is something that we like. So the probably the vast majority of people that are watching our shows and stuff, following our videos, are in the woodworking community, just because that's where I grew up. And this is like number one problem. No one measures. No one can tell you if they're having a good day or a bad day. And at my company, we didn't know if we're having a good day or a bad day. And then like you, we're like, well, what do? We developed a software that helped us, and we have screens all over the shop that turn red, yellow, and green, and you program your acceptable tack time, and all you have to do is keep up with production and the screen. That's an on. Like this is not new, right? And now we created it for us, but now we've made it available to the world. And the people that are using it are like, oh my God. And the ones that aren't are like, I don't know. I don't think that's going to make a difference. I'm like,
Okay, well, I ain't got time. I got to get on to the next phone call.
yeah,
Right.
So, it's so
No, and
good
what's
to
cool
hear
about
you.
software, and Kristen already wants a copy, but nothing was really written from lean. Like
Right.
everybody we would do business with when we went to buy our lasers, they're the fastest in the world. Yeah, we're not interested in speed. No, yeah, you are. No, I'm not.
Yep.
I'm not interested in speed. I'm interested in quality, reliability, sustainability, and all of that. And no, you can cut thousands of parts and put them in a big pile, and then you can sort through the pile. No, I want one part so I can ship it. Like these little revelation moments when Shingo said it's only the last turn of the bolt that actually adds the value. So this is funny because in our training, we show these bolts on a bridge, and they're like inch round bolts, and they're 4 inches of thread showing. And I'm like, that's how we can kick that guy's ass. How's that? We're going to buy shorter bolts, so we're not out on the ocean. Our freight's going to be less.
Because it weighs less.
Because it weighs less. We're going to spend less. So that's the theory of constraints, right? I could actually sell the same bolt package for less money. I could do the job at the same price as you and make more money. And that's, if there was ever something I could get across, and I wish we had a way to put this on a graphic, Toyota says all that matters is what's the customer willing to pay for the product. Mm-hmm. Get that through your head. Like I keep trying to tell people, what's the value to paint this wall? Well, depends on how long it takes the guy. No, it doesn't. What's the value to paint the goddamn wall? What would you pay?
I don't know.
A couple $100?
Sure.
You?
Oh, I might pay $125. They're really good.
$125, yeah. Well, I was here for 22 hours at $50 an hour, so I need $1,100. What's the value? So you take what the value of the product is. So we would always price it. What would somebody pay for this cup of coffee? Well, they'll pay $3. Okay. The more efficient we can produce that, the less our expenses are, the more money we make. Mm-hmm. And I was telling you that it cracks me up with companies that are always trying to grow frontline sales, got to grow, or top line sales, got to grow. Nobody talks about reduce. Let me tell you something. Our accounting department, we said, look, we'll give you 10% of every dollar that you can save this company in early payments. Vendors, can we get a 2% discount if we pay within 10 days? So we started calling them. And I remember year one, they saved us $38,000. Oh
my God.
And who was it the other day that every time I would write a check, so I would get this pile of checks that were within 10 day and discounts with happy faces, and I'd snap photos, 34-cent discount, $1.49 discount, $300. Then it started getting up into the 60, 70, 80,000 a year. So imagine 80 grand a year in savings just by paying in terms. And most companies are just letting it poof.
Right. And that 80 grand is nowhere to go except the bottom line.
Yep. Do you know what the average acceptable scrap rate for lasers is in the industry?
Oh God, can I guess? 5%.
That's about 45%.
Okay. I didn't know we were talking
We're
about my
good.
side.
We got it down to 30%. So Kristen, so think about this. You buy a chunk of steel, 4x10 sheet of steel, or let's go with aluminum, $2.50 a pound. comes in, you cut all these little squares and holes out of it, and your skeleton drops. So now so it came in weighing 500 pounds, and you got 100 pounds of scrap. You just threw $200 away in the scrap bin. So then we started, after we read the theory of constraints, we started thinking, what if we could make products out of these little scrap pieces and just sell them at our labor, not even charge for the aluminum? And then I remember Kristen took our scrap from about $75,000 a month down to $58,000 a month within 30 days. So single-handedly, by reducing scrap, changing the way we nest, and we got really good at remnant management. So we started cutting perfect squares and stocking the remnants so we could bring them back. And then if you go on eBay right now, In the Ditch is selling small chunks of aluminum. But there's $25,000, $28,000 a month. Times 10 months, there's $300,000 a year that just went to the bottom line. We can use that $300,000 to give bonuses and raises, or take care of our community, or give to a church, or give to... Wow. Like, it's all there for the taking. I'm telling you right now, I could take any average home builder with 5 people from here, and we're going to cut your labor to build that building by 40% in nothing flat. Just watch them. Where do they stack the roofing materials, Brad? Over there. Where do they need them? Over here. Do builders have lumber delivered in the exact order they need it, or did they tell the lumber yard, bring me a roofing package or a framing package?
Yeah, big transport drops it off in the driveway.
Yep. Trusses, dump that pile off. Like, it drives me insane. Labor shortage is the number one issue we're facing. Agreed?
Yeah.
So let's just take our employees and make them walk back and forth more. No, let's take the precious commodity that we got, and let's don't buy an electric scissor lift. Let's build scaffolding so they can climb up the scaffolding. And let's don't buy 2 sets of saws and hammers so one can be up there and one down here. Like, open your eyes. Dumpsters. Toilets. When we built this building, where do you suppose they kept the toilet? How many toilets should be on a 90,000 square foot facility?
No idea.
2. Where do you put them? As far away from the building as you can get them. So when you're paying an electrician $85 an hour and he walks all the way out there and the door's locked because somebody's in it, he ain't walking back. Do they stop the meter running on how much they're billing you?
No.
No. So I was trying to bring in toilets and put them everywhere. And then here's the one for the boss. We don't want all them toilets. I don't want my guys in there all day, every day. Really, if you're worried about that, you got bigger problems.
Right.
Hand washing, trash can. God is my witness. I took one of the builders up in the air when we were building that building, and I said, what do you see? Well, it is a little dirty, but it's a construction site. I says, name another industry where you can finish drinking your Dr. Pepper and just throw it on the ground. He goes, well, a dump. And I go, and this work site. Because they kept saying, well, it's a construction site. And you don't understand. No, you don't understand. Like, there's game changers in the construction business.
Yeah.
And anyway, sorry. And I'll probably send this link to a lot of the people working with me, but it's not an attack on them. I'm just trying to get people to see the forest for the trees and see it the way I see it. It's hard for me to be on a construction site because I want to bring the dumpster closer to them and I want to bring them the lid. It's annoying. Like, we at Inventive Products, we made a lot of, as I told you, the stuff that we sell on our manufacturing floor, you can buy it online at Inventive Products. Well, one of the things that we invented was a scissor lift tray. Hangs on your scissor lift, so you put your hammer in it, your nails, and your screwdriver, and your tape measure. And instead of doing this number, this is what, get a screw out of the box. Get another screw out of the box. You can have the box right here. You know what they do? Look right at me, take it, set it on the ground, because it takes too much room. Every scissor lift in the world should have some sort of a tray in it. Would you agree?
100%. I mean, I'm thinking about ours. We build machines. We have our edge sander. It's up on a scissor lift, and we have the toolkit right beside us. But yeah, could be better.
Sorry, I know I'm going to get a lot of hate mail, but I was watching my son the other day. He had a tool belt on. He had every tool we own in there. And, by the end of the day, he just can't even walk anymore. I'm like, let's skinny your tool belt out. Go back to Toyota, quality at the source, only the task-specific tools. So you may want to edit some of that out. I don't really care at this stage of my life.
No, I think it's great. I mean, I
love it.
yeah.
I wanted to jump into, you mentioned something about focus before we started, so I think you were thinking about something.
So I guess this is another thing with Chuck's calm head that I can help you out with, or at least I think I can help some people. So the question is what do I work on today? We all have to-do lists, or we have all these things we need to get done. And for most of us in business or in the professional world, we have more things to do than we can possibly get done. So the question is, what do I work on? And Eli Goldratt really added some clarity, and he said you need to focus on what's important. So one of the things that I think I could possibly help people with is focus. And everybody has a to-do list. There's so many things to do. And what I learned from Eli Goldratt is sometimes you just got to focus on what's important. Like when we got 1,500 orders behind, the focus was get the orders out the door. So our battle cry became flow. And I know you got excited when we talked about flow. So we needed to focus on flow, get the products flowing out the door. As I mentioned earlier, we always viewed our factory as a river flowing through it. And we want to put the product on a canoe, like a little baby floating in the little wooden trough, and we're going to float along. And anytime we had bottlenecks or inventory that went on the shelf, the canoe would come around the corner, and then it just sits there and eddies out, right? And then flows to the next eddy. And we want it to all flow from the order to the hands of the customer. And focus on what's important. Like maybe today, what was important to me was to focus on this interview and your guys' experience here, right? Tomorrow, we're farming. So I'll have a different focus for tomorrow. Depending on where we are in business, we might be focusing on employee development. We might need to focus on new product development. Does that make sense? So learning how to focus on what's important.
I could see it because so many people, like, even after this tour, like, we were going home with a million ideas. Like, we need to implement all of them. Like, well, that will be impossible. What's important? That makes so much sense. So much sense.
Flow, and it's interesting. So there was a period where we were producing, what did Kristen say? I think 45 sets of dollies a day. And we had these huge order influxes, and we were producing 90 a day with the same people. And we got so good at it, people were like, there's really no challenge anymore, right? They were wandering, and we got so good. We did the impossible. And I go back to the Toyota book, and it talks about lower the water and expose more rocks. So we went in and actually reduced more raw good inventories and let the boats go again. And this time they started hitting rocks, and then we started problem solving, and you get them flowing again. But focus on flow, okay?
And you did that, like, just for the people watching, because how many times a day we hear this is like, oh, that lean thing, that works for Brad because he just makes doors, and for Chuck, he makes the same thing all day. And like when I walk through your plant, like you have 9 billion products, getting made one after the other. We always hear we're custom, Yeah, it's not going to work for us.
We're about 1,600 different products.
Right.
Maybe do 100 press brake changes a day, tooling changes, maybe do 20 to 30 robot fixture changes a day. Just got really good at single minute exchange, SMED.
Right. So
People
for all
running
the
around with
people that are-
GoPro cameras. Like one moment, there was a robot. So one of our fixtures took 2 guys 35 minutes to change out. So that's 70 minutes, and they would do that 2 times a day. So 140 minutes, which is what, almost 3 hours. Just that the robot was down. So we read this Ono's SMED. You guys know about single minute exchange of dies. He says that any set of dies can be changed out within a single minute, which is a digital minute, which is 10 minutes, just so you know. So we challenged Trevor, and Trevor had GoPros mounted on his hat, and they had it. And they got it down within 7 days, one guy, 11 minutes.
It's amazing when you just challenge.
Here's what's remarkable. When we first challenged them with it, most everybody went, "Oh my God, we'll never be able to do it." And Trevor goes, I believe, knowing and believing, right? I believe we can do it based on what I've read. So they do it. Now he knows they can do it. And once they know they can do it, now you can start really dropping the big ones in on them.
Right.
Cut that in half. Now go from 10 minutes to 5. And then they really, because they know they can do the impossible. Like, we've seen it.
Well, and the pride, the excitement and the pride when they do something like that too.
Oh, can you imagine how he must feel? Well, here it is 5 years later, and I'm still telling the story.
Right.
And that was just one. It's truly remarkable. It's truly life-changing.
Yeah.
And you make a little money, too.
And you get rewarded with dollar bills at some point.
Well, but back to I always loved it. Like we talked about Henry Ford, whether you think you can or you think you can't. And I give this tour to this woodworking company once. The guy at the front goes, "This will never work. We're just too big of a company. You don't understand." Well, okay. I talked to a guy at the second tour, and I go, "What do you think?" He goes, "Shoot, this could work." Another guy told me, he goes, on another tour, he goes, "Chuck, yeah, we just have too many part numbers. This is going to work." And I go, "You got more than Toyota." I said, they have 218,000 employees. It works for them, but how big is your company?
Right.
As I mentioned, we were blessed with a resort and a golf course, as well as our ranch, and so we're taking the lean, this both ways. And the lean farming is like, it's something that's could be just crazy fun. Crazy fun. So anyways.
Did you have any other, I know when we started, you had your phone out and you were looking at some notes. Did you have anything that we haven't hit yet before we get into the questions?
Let's see. Oh yeah, another thing that I learned from Alan Mullally, and I hope you know when I say I learned from Alan Mullally, it's just from reading and watching.
I was going to ask if you'd met him, because I'd messaged him on LinkedIn about 4 times, kind of like praying that one day he just reads it and decides to call me.
Yeah, I watch his videos, and I read the book. I think I sent you the link on it, but he talks about.
That's a freedom something.
No, it's the Ford one.
Yeah.
Why did you have to bring that up?
I don't know, but this is driving me crazy.
I can Google it real quick. It's a great book. Alan Mullally book. We started using his BPRs, his business plans reviews. It's Ford. It was the book American Icon.
American Icon, yes.
Read it, and
I've already done
then
it.
I think I challenged you with that book. Unbelievable that Ford was ready to go bankrupt, and the only guy in the world that could save him was Alan Mullally. And he never fired anybody. He just set high expectations that you, if you'd say, "I'm not going to meet them," he would say, "It's okay. You just can't work here no more." And I use that over and over. "You don't want to follow our processes? It's okay. you just can't work here anymore. But the other thing that he said was that data will set you free.
Yes. That's very close to my heart.
Yeah, you have to have data to drive decisions.
Oh my God. I mean, this is like number one problem in our industry, and I'm not exposed to all of them, so I can't say all of them, but companies that are measuring with financial statements, it has zero impact on the shop floor. It's like literally the worst measurement you can use. And over the course of, you know, helping companies, we have established 4 metrics that so far can't be beat. Like they're the best. And then we created a dashboard around it. And now every single day, measurements happen by the hour and by the day. And you look at the screen every morning and you can see if you're doing this or doing this. And every metric means something, but on a lean level, not on a sales level.
Right, or an accounting level.
Yeah.
We use numbers that we learned it from a Spader company. We call Spader numbers, and we have about 7 metrics that we look at every week that drive that financials. But our day-to-day decisions are almost always driven about what's best for the customer and the company and the employees.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's so
data
good
will
to
set
hear
you
you
free.
say that.
And then see if there's anything else. Nothing really big happened to us until we made an active decision to create our own training program and make the time to train the people. Nothing big happened. Nothing big will ever happen for your company, ever. If you don't, you saw our training facility, you saw our exercise room, our training room. So there for a beginning, we were training 4 hours a day, every day. We wrote our own curriculum. It got to be pretty fun. It's pretty well balanced now. And we would bring people in, train them, put them out, bring them back, and we just kept pounding this recycling, and just kept improving. And that's when things big started happening for us. When we got everybody, look, how successful would you be at playing football if you guys just got together on game day?
I know, never practiced.
Never perform in public what you haven't practiced in private. Like, you're just never going to get there. You're never going to win a championship if you don't train and train and train. And you have to, like, everybody that works for me knows that I, at any moment, would shut the shop doors and stop taking orders and spend 2 to 3 days training and getting things right. Because the payoff is tenfold down the road.
Right.
And you got to let everybody know that they're important to you and that you're going to spend time training them.
This has got to be number one failure. Yeah.
Well, I told you our EBITDA was over 30% year after year. And anybody that doubts me, put your money where your mouth is and I'll prove it to you. When you're running a manufacturing with an over 30% EBITDA,
It's unheard of.
it's remarkable.
Yeah.
We did so much, in my mind, we were making so much money, I actually had our accountants come in and do an audit on us because I couldn't believe it.
I mean, if people listen this far on the podcast and they get to that sentence and they're still thinking like, maybe lean isn't the way to go. I don't need that Toyota stuff. If that sentence doesn't do it, we can't help you.
Look, it's all your choice. You have a choice to do whatever you want, right? That's what I always loved. I used to tell people that work for me, the wonderful thing about working for me is you don't even have to listen to this conversation. You can get up and leave the room. You do not have to be here. You don't. But if you want to be here, we're going that way.
Man. Okay, you ready for some rapid fire questions?
Does this one pay money or
Man.
big bucks, no whammies?
Big money. All right, so what do you think is the biggest misconception for people just starting out on lean, and then how would you correct that?
Yeah, so we were going to buy this company once, and they agreed to the price, and the partner, we went back the next day, he goes, I ain't selling to no Japanese company. Like, what does this have to do with the Japanese company? I think that's a huge misconception. And the other one is I believe lean was forced on a lot of people. And whenever somebody starts talking to me and they're like, we had our Kaizen team go down on the shop floor and take over an area. I'm like, no! Everybody run! Like, that's just not the way it's done. The misconception, the thing that here's what you need to know about lean. It's through Kaizen. It's many small changes by the people that actually do the work. Don't ever forget this. The Gemba is the place where the real work occurs. It's not just the place where the work occurs. It's the place where the real work occurs. And the further from the Gemba the decisions are made, the worse the decisions will be. We didn't even want to build an upstairs at our company because I didn't want anybody on the shop floor to say, well, they don't tell me what's going on.
I remember very distinctly somebody in our studio audience over there. We were in the office talking about a problem about the CNCs, and it was like, we know better. And Kyla's like, shouldn't we be out at the CNC? Literally 20 minutes of conversation. We go out to the machine, we talk for 3 minutes, problem solved, carry on with your day. High five, Kyla. So that's great. Okay, so next question. If a smaller company has no formal lean training or lean program, in your opinion, what's step one?
Well, you really gotta decide which direction you're gonna go as a company. Like, you got all these decisions to make throughout the day, right? If the question was, I've made my decision that I want to go this lean route, what should I do next? I would encourage you to buy copies of The Goal or copies of the Toyota Way, right? I would post on my company roster that tonight at 5 o'clock, we're going to talk about this thing called lean, and anybody that's interested, please meet me somewhere and we'll provide pizza. And then what I did is I tape $50 bill under a chair, 100 under a chair, a 20 under a chair. And then I found out who was going to be my champions, right? So 6 people showed up the first night. Hey, look under your chair. Oh, I want $100. And then they go back the next day. Lynn, you should have won. I got $100 pizza. And then we start to infect them with this idea of what we're doing, because you gotta have champions on the floor that are going to help you take this. If you're out and you got people down on the shop floor saying this will never work, you're in for a struggle. So you got to get people on your side if that's the direction you're going to go. I hope I answered that.
You did. Well, and okay, so same question. Like, picture more of a medium-sized company. I'm thinking like maybe 20 people, and they're doing lean, not as well as probably some people want. Maybe it's like they're doing lean, but it's a little bit like pushing a train. What would your advice be to that company?
Well, I struggle with that because I don't feel like we're doing lean. I feel like we're at our company that we're about 3 pages into chapter 2.
That's how you know what you're doing.
That's how I really feel.
Yeah.
My question to you would be, if I asked any one of your 20 employees what is Kaizen, could they answer that? Or if I asked them what Genchi Genbutsu is, could they answer that? If they can't, I would say the very first thing you should probably do is work on defining terminology for your company. So I always think of it as like running an offensive play. Spider, Y2 banana, on 3. When we break the huddle, we all got to know what the play is, right? We all got to run it. If I say, Kyla, you need to go Genchi Genbutsu, what does that mean? We're not going to be successful. Like, you can't get to the next level if we're all not speaking the same language. I owned an aircraft recovery business for a while, right? And I remember we did an airplane crash, and the FAA guy goes, yeah, let's look in the gascalator. And I'm like, is this guy shitting me? Is he
Gascalator.
Is he looking for the board stretcher? And I didn't say a word. And there is a gascalator on a Lycoming engine. I realized right then, I better go home and start reading up on aircraft terminology if I'm going to be in this business.
Man. Yes. Wow. Okay.
Well, I just got to add this. If you're in surgery, getting ready to get the old big vasectomy, you're half in and out of consciousness, I'm getting a little more comfortable on the gurney, and the doctor says, nurse, hand me the cutty thingy, and then the other doohickey. Where's the door? Am I right or wrong?
Yeah. You have the best analogies for actually hitting home that I've ever heard. Like, I'm walking out here with 4 or 5 that are going to change.
Well, and that
my
goes
life.
with vulgar, I got to quit, because it's just name a profession where it's really acceptable behavior. I'm semi-retired, so I don't really give a shit. But,
Okay.
but you know what I'm saying? When you're working day to day, we just need to change the way we talk to one another.
Yeah, that's huge. Okay, same question. Company that is by all in measures crushing it at lean, or they you know, you would walk in and be mildly impressed at what's going on. Looks good. They're doing their 3S'ing or 5S'ing or 6S'ing. They're doing it all, but they want to go to the next level. How would you challenge that company, or what would your challenge be to that company to go to the next level?
I think that's when you need to reach out to other like-minded companies and get some sort of a support group. Like, there's 20 groups and other companies that are going to challenge you. Ryan Tierney at Scenic Matters. Ask him about this one. We challenged him to do 50 improvements in 4 days. I believe that's how it went. And he challenged us to do 100 improvements in 4 days. And we said, we're going to do one better, Ryan. We're going to do 100 improvements in 4 days per department. And so there was a period where we were challenging each other that I was like, Ryan, I'm not going to open this text right now because I can't take the challenge on. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And you can get with people like that are going to challenge you to just push yourself a little bit harder. And I think that's what it takes. Because people that aren't at that level don't even have a grasp of what's going on.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, that's a good
I'm
one.
saying outside people.
Yes, agreed. Okay. What lean principle do you find to be underrated? And when applied properly, why do you think it's so powerful?
Well, everybody talks about Kaizen, but it's probably the single most powerful tool. As I mentioned, in our company, anybody can do Kaizen as long as they meet with 2 other people that can best help make the change, and then they enact it. And then it was my job to support that decision. So I would have to say Kaizen is underutilized, as well as Genchi Genbutsu. And you know, should I tell the story?
Tell it.
Brad calls me and goes, or maybe it was through a series of texts, you were getting faulty MDF from your manufacturer and you were pretty frustrated. And I said, you know what you need to do? You need to go Genchi Genbutsu. And you go like, damn it! I know that,
I knew
but you
that was
didn't
gonna
want
be
to
the
hear it.
answer. Yeah, well, yeah, I remember that very distinctly.
Because you got to go and see and immerse yourself into it and gain firsthand knowledge. And I just got to tell one quick story on that. So, Fastenal, we bought all of our bolts from them, and they were continually failing us. We would be out of bolts, and we'd reach out to them, and they'd say, sorry, we don't have any bolts on hand. It'll be 3 days. So Clay, that works for us as a group leader, he went Genchi Genbutsu. He went to Fastenal here. And here's what we found out. We were ordering large batches of bolts, quantity sizes, because they were failing us. Isn't that what you do to reward the vendor? Bigger. Well, what would happen is we would order like, say, 1,000 quarter-inch bolts. And they would take us a month to go through. Well, he'd have 1,000 on his shelf, and their computer would say, hey, this has been on the shelf too long and it hasn't sold, and it would make it go back to the warehouse. So when we made smaller batch sizes and went to 100 bolts and got it delivered every week, it would show up on their shelf. The computer said the inventory turn was 4 days. He's getting rewarded, and we never ran out of products. Does this all make sense? And that all stemmed from Genchi Genbutsu. Tire company here. So we buy around 1,000 tires a month from our local tire company. They said, we got to raise the price of the tires, $4 a tire. I said, you can't raise the price. We just can't let that happen right now. They go, no, we need to. And they go, can we come down and spend a day with you? So we go down there. How many times do you think they moved a 8-inch tire from the time it got to their facility until it got here? How many times do you suppose they picked the tire up and moved it?
I don't even want to hazard a guess.
21 times.
Really?
21 times. So here's one of the steps. We're standing there watching it, and he goes, yeah, we got to charge more because we got more of a dumpster. So the rim, 1,000 rims are in a box, each one in a box. So they take the rim out of the box, set the rim down, take the plastic off it, put it in the box, throw the box on the floor, get a big pile, then take that box, go outside and throw them in the dumpster. Fills the dumpster up. Why are you doing that? Well, they come in a box. Why do they come in a box? That's just how they come. Why? I don't know. Carlisle, why do you put our rims in the box? Isn't that how you want them? No, we don't want them in a box. Oh, God, thank you. We'd rather not put them in the box.
Question.
Literally that quick. Got rid of the dumpster, got rid of the waste of putting it in the box. We also said, hey, if you don't have to put it in the box, would you be willing to put the valve stem in? They go, hell yeah, we'll do that trade. So then we got out of
Genchi Genbutsu.
all because somebody said, why?
Yeah.
What if? Why is it coming in a box? Because that's the way it comes. But why?
Wow.
Sorry to distract, but
No,
like
that was
it's
great.
all these little things that you see, and it all goes back to working with your extended partners and all of this, and helping other people succeed, and respect for people, and continuous improvement. And it all just keeps coming back. It just keeps coming. Genchi Genbutsu, it's powerful, right? When you utilize it. Kaizen, we went down to do Kaizen with them. Like one of the little things that we noticed is they would bring the tires to our factory. The guy would get out, stand there, and wait for somebody from our shipping department to walk up, get the paperwork, fire up a forklift, unload him. What if you got forklift certified to operate our forklifts? And we trusted you to receive the tires yourself. So now Les Schwab pulls up, he jumps on the forklift,
Unloads.
unloads it, sticks the paper in the bin, drives off.
You know, and I mean, this is like number one thing when you go into someone else's shop. Like how many times I do, I'm like, I'll just unload that, and they're like, oh, you can't drive our forklift. You're just like slaughtering sacred
Why?
cows one after the other. But
Well,
yeah,
you're
why?
not trained. Yeah,
Why?
I have a forklift card.
Yeah, I've been driving them for 25 years. I'm
Let me
about
put a rider
100%
on. Let me add you onto my insurance.
Yeah.
Like,
Wow.
ah,
Okay.
that's just, these are little crumbs, and you just start at. One of the guys working there, we used to do a thank you card, and we'd cut it in half of 8x11, 8.5 by 11. So he would print it, cut it in half, sign it, fold it, put it in the package. His Kaizen improvement was, can we just have a pre-printed signature, and can we go to 4 cards? That was going to saving on average 3 seconds per box. What's 3 seconds, Brad? Ain't much, right?
1 step, 1 second, 1 yen. How much do you want to pay?
150 boxes a day times 3 seconds. It's 450 seconds a day times 5 days a week times 52. 117,000 seconds divided by 60. 1,950 minutes divided by 60. 32 and a half hours a year.
A week.
No, a year.
Yeah, a week a year.
Yeah, a week a year. We just pulled out of midair. Boom. And that's from a 3-second signature. Remember, always be the tortoise, never the hare. And that's always a challenge. How do we reduce the time we're spent packaging without going faster?
Well, do you know what I've seen you do today? About 5 times is pull out your phone and go, how long was that? 12 seconds?
Do the math.
You know, and like you've done it 5 times today. So, you know,
No, but you
the
got
cost
to
of a
convince, you
second-
got to take people from believing the stuff works to knowing
knowing.
it works.
Yeah.
And then we celebrated that guy, and we have a video system here that we share. We're using Teams, so every time they have a lean improvement, they film it and post it. We try to keep them under 45 seconds, and then every morning we share the.
Awesome. All right. So all of this improving going on. How do you balance the pressure of daily production with still making improvements all day?
Got to focus on what's important, Brad.
I heard that somewhere before.
Well, I keep talking about my son because this football relates to it so much. How did he get to where he would run wind sprints all day, every day, and do push-ups and tackle sleds and go to practice and on and on and on? And he said, because it was important to me. And he says, when it becomes important to you, you'll do it. Right? So if lean's important to you, you better find a way to do it. Knowing that I can only focus on one point at a time. Like, we were relentless. Like all day, every day, relentless. Sharing ideas in group text. Meeting after work. Sharing videos in the evening. Reading books. I did book clubs. I did book clubs constantly. We're all going to read The Toyota Way together. Do you see what I mean? And it's a never ending, we're going this way and we're not stopping, even at the risk of shipping orders out the door. Because I know the end game. I know what it can do for us. I hear what I said, I know. Not that I believe. I know this is the course we need to go.
So if a company is aspiring to be lean, they're listening to this, they're motivated, what's a lean habit or a lean kata you think that people should develop early on?
Well, I think you got to be really careful with who you listen to and the direction you go. Like I chose Eli Goldratt and Jeffrey Liker, and that was it. So I've never even toured other factories.
And you know what's funny? I mentioned this to the team today. Every time, like I've listened to the Toyota Way personally. If I said 300 times, that'd be low. If you put the audiobook on right now, I will talk with it. That's how many times I've listened to it. And I'm like, every time I ask Chuck for advice, it's a quote out of the Toyota Way. Like, I know what I should be doing, and then Chuck tells me, and then we do that, and it's like, but yeah, I think that's amazing. You just pick 2 books. When you run into a problem, you're like,
Yep.
but
And then
Toyota says this. Why don't we just do this?
for
Like,
personnel issues, Winning by Jack Welch. But I can tell you what, like never been to Japan, never done any of that.
It's wild.
But we found everything we needed in those books, and we cracked the cover my last year over there. We just started reading Toyota Talent. And if you want to talk take your head off, that book is insanely, like way too complex for our company. Like we just couldn't get there. Well, look, they're talking about don't give any employee any more than 2 tasks. They talk about the direction that you teach from. Have you read Toyota Talent?
I've read it. But
The direction you need to
I'm in
stand
the
behind
same-
them when you're teaching them, and the methods and the flashcards, and you're like, whew, this is big time. And we're just not there. Like,
We're not in Kansas anymore.
yeah, we got to keep this thing simple.
Okay, so then I guess early on, how did you keep lean from becoming just another flavor of the month at Crazy Chuck?
Biggest challenge in the world is sustaining. And, it's interesting, the company that bought us, we're still owners in it, but a private equity company, phenomenal company, great group of people. But I'm not sure that lean is as important to them as it was to me. So it'll be interesting to see if it can sustain. That's the hardest challenge.
You mentioned that you've done multiple resets over the years as well.
Oh, over the months, over the days, yes. Like, look, I was mentoring a guy on a construction site the other day, and I said, here's what I want you to do. I want you to get all of your guys together, and I want you to stand in a semicircle, and I want you to look at this job site and ask yourself if it looks like a professional run job site. That would be my challenge to people in the manufacturing company.
Oh God, I just pictured doing that at the shop, and I'm like, we're doing that.
Everybody stand in front of the parking lot and go, how does my customer perceive us? How does this look? And if it isn't the way you want it to look, then it's time for a reset. It can be fixed. That's the wonderful thing. Like, you can have, New Year's is always my favorite time of the year, right? Because we get to start over again. You can say, look, Monday morning, we're starting over new. We're going to do a huge reset. We're going to spend the next 3 days taping out trash cans because it's important to us. Have you seen our lean sweeping video? I have a video on sweeping.
Yes,
you should watch
yes,
it.
Yeah,
It's pretty boring.
And you're sweeping across the floor. Yes.
More trash cans. We're going to do all of these things and do these resets. And then in a week, we get a little sloppy. We're going to stand back and look at it again. Is this the vision of paradise for us? But a leader has to have a vision and a plan. Like, you got to have a vision. Like, we're remodeling our resort, and I have a vision board that I share with everybody. Because can't you see it, right? Like, this is where we're going. This is what we're going to do. We just hired a guy out of Winnemucca and his family, and we're moving him up here. And I'm like, can you see it? I'm in. I can see the vision. But if you're not sharing the vision, and I feel like you got a ways to go.
Man, I could sit here all day and keep this going, but I think that would be a good spot to end this and have us thank you.
Go look at the hot rods.
And now we can go look at hot rods.
Well, I want to thank you guys, one, for coming out here and sharing this and spending a little time with me. To me, this was great therapy. I forgot how much I missed doing this stuff. Kristen texted me and she goes, just like old times.
Oh, man.
We've all been through a big journey together. Yeah, just like old times. It was fun.
She was great too.
Well, we're extremely grateful that we know what these tours are like for you guys, like for everyone that lets us come through their shop. So we're extremely grateful. We're just hoping that other people are going to get inspired by what they see. The journey that you've been through, it's so inspiring for people, and they know that they can start somewhere. It's possible. It might fail. They can restart again. I think it just really helps a lot of people.
Yeah, and
see it.
I think that reset is probably the one thing that, you know, we've done it, but not like so many companies are struggling, you know, and they're like, our morning meetings suck, and our people aren't engaged anymore, and you know, I don't know what to do, but even if you just mentally just say, okay, it's Friday, hey, Monday, you know what, we're just going to reset, we're going to have a killer morning meeting, we're going to whatever it is, but just knowing that that's okay. It's okay that it got bad, but that's okay. We're going to reset and we're going to go again. That is huge.
But can I say, I just want to say one thing in, like this company over here, we're doing big resets right now. We actually stopped our leadership meetings for the first time in 15 years. And we also shortened our morning meetings from 30 minutes to 15 minutes during this next reset, because our focus on what's important is a little bit, like you don't have to have a Paul Lakers morning meeting. You don't have to be like him. You know what I mean? You don't have to be like Chuck and his companies. You do what's best for you. And maybe if you don't have the resources, maybe you can't have that 30-minute stand-up meeting. Maybe something else is more important. Maybe all going out and cleaning the building together is more important for that day. Does that make sense? Do what's important for you and what you guys think is best to get you back on the railroad tracks.
I'm going to have to sit in the car for 4.5 hours just writing down all the notes that I need to remember from this visit.
You got this. Respect for people. Focus on what's important. Many small changes by people that do the work. Don't be afraid to do a reset. Just keep them.
Share the
just
vision.
keep coming them around.
And
Share the vision. Share the vision. Watched Lou Holtz and all them guys. Leaders have a vision and a plan. Gotta have a vision. Gotta have a plan.
Chuck, thank you so much for
You
being
bet.
on the show.
Thanks,
We
Chuck.
appreciate
Shaking
it.
for a
Appreciate
pulse.
It's been
it.
amazing.
I love it.
All right.
All right, that's it. Well,
That's a
a wrap for another episode of On the Shop Floor. I hope that everybody enjoyed that as much as we did. And this is the new litmus test. If you can listen to this podcast or watch that plant tour and still you're not sure, there's no hope for you. Have fun, everybody. Go out and make some improvements.